Welcome to the Gamebreak Now podcast. My name is Cody, and we are joined here by a very special guest. We have Drew Kelso from One Motive Sports. Happy to have you
Cody.
on.
Hey, Cody. Good to meet you, man. Nice to be on for sure.
Definitely. Thank you for taking the time and the opportunity to speak with us. Um, Today, we're going to be looking at more of the agency side of things, getting a different perspective than what is usual. Most of the time, we look at scouting and player evaluations as the marquee point. But today, we're going to get a little bit of a different side, something from the agent side, something from looking at what front offices might be looking for and what he's looking to boost his prospects in doing so. So, Drew, if you could actually go ahead and give me a little bit of backstory on um, who you are, how this came about.
Sure. I'll give you the Cliff Note version. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. But first of all, definitely appreciate you having me on. It's a cool honor. No, so I'm the CEO of One Motive Sports Company agency. Started in November of 2018 is when we started. So we've been ripping and running ever since, slowly but surely. My background, born and raised in Jonesboro, Arkansas, so very unusual place for an agency to be from, but that's home. About an hour outside of Memphis, Tennessee. And I played all through high school, played on the AAU circuit before there was like EYBL and stuff. I'm a little bit older, so I didn't get to see all that. I was on the Nike circuit before there was EYBL. Played with a lot of high level guys, played against a lot of high level guys. Did 4 years of college ball, small college ball. And long story short, I always wanted to be an agent. From the time I was like 13 years old. I told my dad, who was an AAU coach for me or with us, that I wanted to be an agent. And I knew I wasn't going to be good enough to play in the NBA. I was pretty realistic with myself. I just want to get school paid for, but I wanted to be the guy that made the guys in the NBA money. And make it. I was in the business, and I was also obviously into basketball. So for me, it was kind of the best of both worlds. Even at a young age, I don't know if it was watching Jerry Maguire too many times or what, but I always had like a dream of being an agent, which is probably unusual for a kid. But I kind of veered off and got away from it. When I was 21, I started a business in my dorm room. When I was in my senior year of college, I actually started buying and flipping shoes when that was before that was really a thing. Way before StockX or Sneakers app or anything. So I was selling shoes on eBay and Facebook and wherever I could sell shoes. This is probably like 2010. I'm 35 now. And so I did that with my business partner now, Thomas Sandlin. Did that for 8 years. 8 years. And it's kind of a long story, but a friend of mine actually gave me the idea again that I should be an agent. And that's what we actually named the company after him. He passed away shortly after he told me about it. So I just kind of like a prophecy for us. It's something bigger than basketball for us. So when we first really got going, it didn't make sense to a lot of people why I would leave the shoe business and do what I did. And we got into this, and it's been a long, hard road. And we came a long way and got a lot further to go. But so yeah, since November of 18, we've been going.
Perfect. That sounds amazing. Sounds like you got a knack for business
Yeah,
on
man.
that side of things.
I don't know, man. Either that or I'm not smart enough to go get a job for somebody else, man. I'm 35. I've never worked for anybody else. I've always been my own boss. So I just maybe I'm just hard headed or I'm not cut out for the 9 to 5. I definitely respect people that are. I don't know. I think my brain doesn't really have an off switch enough, I guess.
Is there anything that you were able to pull from that dorm room business that you started?
For sure, for sure. That's a great question. I tell when I'm recruiting, and I kind of give people players and their families, kind of my background because I want to know their background too. Um, I always say I was very into basketball, like to an obscene amount growing up. That's all I knew, right? My parents owned a business. I was around it, but like me learning business, the good and the bad, helped me here. Like and just being able to relate that to my agency business now, the good and the bad of the retail business that I was in. We wound up opening a brick and mortar location. bad idea. We had a great online business, had a wholesale business. Like we had highs and lows with it, just like the agency business, just like life in general. But I've definitely taken a lot of business stuff that I learned from those days, and I'm thankful for it. I think I needed the time away from basketball. I don't know about 8 years. I wish I would have probably started a little earlier, but um, I think basketball is all I'd ever knew, and I need to step away and kind of recalibrate a little bit. It got me back into it, and I love the game. I love watching the game. I love scouting. I love getting to know players, getting to know people, and seeing it from all different types of lenses. So it's been fun, and it's been. I think that's the best way I could relate it is I knew basketball, but I didn't know business, and now I feel like we know both. So that's been cool.
That's amazing. You do an amazing job showcasing your talent. What's the process that your team goes through when choosing talent?
Choosing talent, man. Um, I am. You talking about just overall like recruiting and evaluating players?
Overall, yep. Overall recruiting,
Um,
evaluating, who's going to be. So how do people make it on your radar?
sure. I think for us, that's a great question. I think it's kind of a two-part question. Number one is like you have to understand where we came from a little bit. Maybe I'm jumping ahead. But in 2018, we started the company at such a low level. And I honestly, like I said, I knew basketball and I knew college coaches and I knew, players. I had friends in the NBA, I had friends overseas that I had played it with or against, but I didn't really understand the agency process. And I think for me, like understanding the agency process and like what makes a player marketable. Yes, you can score, yes, you can do this, but how can I get you a job? And so we did, we've been a primarily overseas company up until, the last couple of years. And I mean, we're still majority overseas. We do most of our business overseas, but we did get into the NBA this year. Hopefully going to continue that. Been in the G League the last couple of years. But I think for me, like the evolution of talent evaluation going from a non-division one D2 NAI or even a low to mid-major D1 guy that could get a job overseas, like understanding what that type of player looked like. Okay, I got that down. Okay, what can I figure out what a mid-level European player looks like? Okay, I got that down. Now it's like, can I get like, do I know what checks a box for an NBA scout, front office, whatever? Can I check that box now? And I believe we can. We put our first two guys in the NBA this year. This past two rookies this past year on two ways. And just trying to continue that. I'm really big on the talent eval. I think the biggest thing now, obviously, we're taking care of all the guys that we have abroad, and even the guys in the G League. Some of them will go abroad, or even the ones in the NBA. You never know how the game's going to go. But I think the biggest thing for us, like finding talent, is I'm a feel guy. Like I find players randomly. I don't really like to go with like I said, I don't like to go with the general perception of what a guy is about, right? Like what people think of somebody before, and I've got a million examples of that. But I think just in general of like finding a player, okay, watching more of them, whether I see them in person blind, like I walk into a gym and I have no idea who he is, even though now it's kind of hard because I study it a lot and my staff studies it. But doing that, watching stats, obviously, dissecting it, and then you get into okay, I like the player. I think he could project to a prospect. Okay, then the real work begins because then you have to connect with that player or their family or their main point of contact, whoever that may be. And then you got to be able to also do the intel side of things too, which I'm also very high on. I've been told we're overly high on character, which is kind of funny to me because I don't really think that's a thing. You had Mal Leons on the other day, and I think Mal is an unbelievable person. Like, we have Trey Jemison that's in the NBA right now with the Memphis Grizzlies. He's a unbelievable guy. Like, those are the type of guys that have a chance to stick. Like, when you're on the fringe, like a lot of our guys are, and we'll talk about our rookie class, I'm sure, but like being a good person's half the battle, right? And like nobody wants to put up with you if you're just a terrible teammate every day. If you're not a first round pick, like I hope I'm wrong, but I doubt any of our guys this year are gonna be first round picks. Going in the draft in a couple weeks, but I want good people. Good people I want to be around. It makes you work that much harder for them too, and they're a lot easier to promote. And like teams in the NBA are starting to understand two things, like humbly speaking about Ole Miss, is one is that we kind of identify under the radar talent that maybe people aren't really seeing, like a Malava or a Trey Jemison. And then the other is too, like they know that we're bringing them good people, and I think that does matter, um, because we hold those guys to a high standard. They really hold themselves to a high standard. I don't really have to do a lot. Like they've been raised the right way. Trey's been raised the Mal's been raised the right way. So like those guys have all been taught how to do this. So like I think that's something that's really misconstrued. And like I think the biggest thing, I could be on soapbox about this, I'll get off of it. But I think from like draft Twitter or draft evaluators, like I get it, like your job is to evaluate talent that could play, but there's also a lot more to it than that. NBA people are doing deep dives and intel. They're doing, if they're really into you, they're making calls that you wouldn't believe about certain guys. So I want to know all that before I get into it. Like nobody's perfect, but I want to be able to know that we've got good people here.
Perfect. That's amazing. I love to have that agent's point of view, and who you're actually putting out to the public is a major key because perception is everything in the NBA.
For sure.
Especially for those guys that are on that fringe. I mean, I think you guys are doing a great job of representing them.
I appreciate that.
All right. So jumping into this year's draft class, I know that this is mostly a draft podcast here.
Cool.
So tell me a little bit about your players that you're representing this year. I would love to hear the agent's perspective about each player
For
and how you
sure.
view them, as they tend to
No, for
be
sure. I
more
mean,
of the scouting perspective I
no, for
have.
sure.
But I
I'll
mean,
kind
this is
of
the
do
agent
a
side.
yeah. I'll kind of do a quick dive on. I guess we
Yeah,
have a rookie class of 5 players. Some are more well known than others, and some are kind of under the radar. But the rookie class right now, the first one's Kevin Cross from Tulane. I don't have my numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he averaged about 17, 7, and 5 this year, somewhere around there, maybe 18, 7, and 5. Big time numbers at Tulane, like very unique. I think he's one of the more unique prospects in the country, coming in the draft class. He's a big versatile wing that, I mean, I think the biggest thing with him is like he had the ball in his hands so much at Tulane, right? And he was very ball dominant, and that's what they needed for them to be successful. He had good players around him, but like he was really a point forward. And so, Kev was a Portsmouth guy. He's in the pre-draft process. He had one that workout today. I think he's at 6. He's got 6 pre-draft workouts scheduled now, I think, or done. And I'm sure there'll be a couple more, but I think he's a really interesting prospect for like summer league and beyond. He's a guy that I think, we talk about all the time is cultivate, along with the character piece is cultivating a role. And I think cultivating a role for him is going to be more, okay, how can he adapt to playing off the ball? Right. And because I've known Kevin since he's an Arkansas guy like me. So I saw Kevin play in high school before I was an agent, right? So I've known Kevin for a long time, and Kevin's ability to play make with the ball is what got him in the position he's in now. People know he can do that. Scouts and personnel know he can do that, but can he play off the ball more of a 3 and D, 3 level scorer? The biggest thing with Kevin, like his elite skill, he's got two in my opinion, is his feel. Like I think his feel for the game is absolutely fantastic. And I think like he's just got a level of tenacity about him that like you can't teach. He's just a dog. Um, and we've worked on his shot a lot this summer. Matt Jones, that is our player development guy, has put in countless hours with Kev and all of them. But Kev in particular, shooting has came a long way, and I can't wait for summer league and beyond. I think he's going to be a guy in a year or two that or sooner that's going to be on the NBA roster. I really do. So we're high on Kev. We like Kevin a lot. I guess the next one, if we would jump into it, is the one you just had on your show, Malavaleons, who, in my opinion, is probably going to be one of the biggest surprises in this draft class. I think he's a surprise even for me, who recruited him for a year and a half. So Mal is a legitimate, like, we measured him, like he's been measured at facility with shoes. He's 6'10". He's 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan. Really like a 3-4. Like he's on the perimeter. He can really play. He was back-to-back Missouri Valley Defensive Player of the Year, first team All League this year. I mean, his you're a big numbers guy, so his block and steal rate was phenomenal. Like a steal and a half and a block and a half a game at that size is unbelievable. His shooting is coming a very long way, very quick. I mean, he shot at 34% from three this year on a lot of attempts, but his shooting with Matt's work, him and Matt Jones's work this summer has been unbelievable. We had a pro day in Los Angeles in front of a lot of NBA scouts at the Lakers facility, and I mean, he had stretches where he was hitting, 11 corner threes in a row, 14 corner threes in a row, and it was like, okay, you got something here, and a lot of NBA teams are very interested. I think he's a guy that is going to be at the verge of a two-way. I think he's deserving of one. I think the battle is going to be, is somebody willing to do that before summer league or not? And so we'll see. And I can kind of talk about that, but I mean, ultimately, like he's going to find his way on the NBA roster. Like I think of the guys we have, he's got as much or more upside than anybody, just because like he's just scratching the surface of how good he's going to be. And once again, like unbelievable dude, like great kid. Like I call them all kids because they're younger than me, but he's a great guy. Love the dad from the Netherlands. He's just happy to be here. So he's been fun to be around. Definitely a sleeper. I know you really liked him too. So
I think he can be, now just throwing out names, he can be this year's Tumani Kamara.
mm, okay, I like that.
I
Simone,
mean, he's a second round kind of guy, but he's going to have impact.
for
That's
sure,
what I think.
for sure. I think wherever fit's the biggest thing we're looking for him. Whether he's drafted, whether he's a two-way, whether he's Exhibit 10 and works into a two-way. Like we're just looking for the right fit that is willing to put the time in and develop him. And like what we see in the gym every day, and like teams are he had his sixth workout today. He's got two more on the docket as of now. I'm sure he'll wind up with about 10 workouts. I mean, you work out for a third of the league. That's a lot of workouts, but everyone, like almost the feedback gets better and better and better. And it's like, okay, like people are like shocked at how much better he's got, right? So I think it's just a matter of time. We love the kid. I think he's gonna be phenomenal. I think he's gonna get in the NBA, and I think he has a chance to stick. I really do. Really, really high level of talent, and just wants to be better. And that's something we ask for too. Is just guys that, do you really love it? Do you love the game? Can you go through the punches of going through ups and downs? And I saw him play live 4 or 5 times the last 2 years. I kind of randomly found him when I was in the Missouri Valley tournament not this year, but the prior year. I guess that was 22-23 season at the Missouri Valley tournament. And I was like, who is this kid? I had no idea. Tall, lanky, long, and just like really was defending. And I was like, okay, he's going to be all right. So we're really fortunate we got him, and we're excited for him. The next one I guess we have is Mason Walters from Wyoming. Mason is a guy that I've been very familiar with for a long time that a lot of people aren't familiar with. He was three-time NAIA first team All-American at University of Jamestown in North Dakota. And then we actually represented him on the NIL side. Clay Mallory that works with me, we represented him on the NIL side and helped him go to the University of Wyoming. And that was a good experience. He was NAIA National Player of the Year in 22-23. I actually flew to Jamestown, North Dakota to watch him in NAIA, and that was probably one of my most interesting recruiting trips, but it was fun. And then he went to Wyoming. And he tore a ligament in his thumb to start the season, and he missed the first, I believe, 12 games. He came back right before Christmas, or right before New Year's, I guess it was. And he averaged about 12-6 this year in the Mountain West, which was really solid. And he kind of had to learn Division I basketball on the fly, right? And so he's 6'9", 230, strong as an ox. He just had to work out with the Grizzlies on Thursday, and I think he did really well. And I think he's got a couple more coming up, but he's a good summer league, G League guy for sure. I think he deserves a chance to continue to develop. We're really high on Mace. I think he's just a workhorse. Everybody here respects the heck out of him, and just a really good guy once again. And I mean, if you look at his college numbers, I think he scored almost 2,700 career points, like a lot of points. So he's a really good scorer, really good footwork in the post, and like his shooting piece has came so far this summer. Like so far, if he would have shot the three anywhere like near what he's doing now, he would have been in Portsmouth and he would have had way more workouts than he had, and he knows that. So he put in the work necessary. So we're really excited about Mace. The other one, the two more, Hassan Ward from Iowa State. Hassan is super interesting. 6'9", 7'3" wingspan. Very much like a mini Clint Capella type game. Elite rim protector. Like I'm talking probably one of the best ones I've ever evaluated. His offensive game is still developing. He's only been playing basketball about 7 years before he came to the States. He's from Barbados. And, we got him. We had a player from Iowa State the prior year, Jaron Holmes, and kind of got to know about Hassan that way. And, watched him in the NCAA tournament. I think he had like 12 points in the second round. They were all six lobs. I think all six were just dunks, dunk, dunk, dunk. And he's actually playing in Canada's summer league right now in the CBL for the Scarborough team, and he's averaging right at 3 blocks a game and like 18 minutes a game. Like it's unbelievable. Like, and it's pretty high. Like it's a lot of G League guys in that league, a lot of high level college players, and he's averaging right at 3 blocks a game. So he's leading the league in blocks. I mean, the good part about it is he's playing up there, but they're allowing him to go do pre-draft workouts and stuff. He just worked out with Cleveland. He's worked out with Memphis, like he in Toronto. So he's got a couple more to go. So I'm hoping he gets a crack at summer league, and we'll see what happens. But there is legitimate interest in him as like a project. As far as like, can they develop what you can't teach you can't teach the vertical leap he has and the wingspan he has. It's just like, can we pick up on the other things? And then last but not least is Jalen Williams from Auburn. And everybody, that's no probably. That is the guy that most people can relate to the most as far as his name. He's a big time get for us. Second team All SEC, winningest player in Auburn history, and that's the thing is like he's a winner. He's just a winner, and I think like people ask me what his elite skill is, and I mean, I think just being a winner and playing with Bruce Pearl for 5 years, never switched up, never transferred. Never, like, he went from starting to Jabari Smith coming in and backing him up. For 5 years, he stayed at Auburn, and winningest player in school history. Very high character guy. 6'8", 240. Can shoot it. His shooting is, I mean, like we're getting reports that he's hitting in the upper 60s at every workout. Out of 100, I say upper 60s. Most teams have you do 100 series shooting where you shoot 100 3-pointers from 5 spots to some variation, some spot up, some are on the move, some are different cutting actions. He's in the 60, almost 70% range at almost every workout right now. And he's going to work out for almost half the league by the time this is all said and done. And I think of our guys right now he's probably the most realistic to get his name called on draft night. We're thinking he's got a real chance to be a second round guy or a two-way guy after the draft. It really depends on fit, whether he gets drafted or not. It's just like, can we find a spot that doesn't? A lot of the teams that are working him out are winning franchises for the most part. And so I think like, okay, can you cultivate that role? Can you put like for us, he's plug and play, right? Like the biggest difference between like one's not better than the other in my eyes, but like let's say a Malavai or a Kevin to a Jalen is like Mal and Kev are going to take a second to have to develop and cultivate a role, which is fine. That's what the G League is for. That's what the summer league process, training camp. Hopefully they move quicker than others, like a Trey Jemison did. But like Kev or Jalen's plug and play ready. Like he's ready to go right now. Like you can plug him in a high winning, high pressure situation, and he's been a high level role player for 5 years at Auburn. So, really good guy. Comes from like the smallest of small towns in South Georgia. He's like the heart and soul of Nahunta, Georgia. So, and everybody at Auburn really loved just the character piece too. So that's why we were really drawn to him, and we were very fortunate to get him. But that's our recruiting class in a nutshell. All five of them. I could sit here and talk about all five of them all day, but I won't do that to you.
That's awesome. Yeah, on Jalen, his cutting numbers. his shooting numbers. His shooting is really underrated, I believe. His cutting numbers are crazy, and points per possession. I think he's in the 90th percentile on that.
Analytic, the analytics that we
He's
ran on him were really high. He's really good analytically, and then like you throw in the fact that he's a freak athlete, like he's 6'8", 240. Like there's a lot of pieces there that scream like NBA role player for a long time. And that's kind of where we're at with, and I think that's why he's getting so much buzz. We were a little disappointed he didn't get Chicago invite. He was at Portsmouth and did well, but that's okay. Like at the end of the day, he's going to be just fine. So I think he's going to be on somebody's NBA roster this year. I really do.
I agree. All right. You work with a lot of domestic athletes here, college athletes,
Hmm.
but you said that you started internationally. Um, Tell me some of the key differences between, you know, international getting players signed, that evaluation, getting them on a roster,
Hmm.
and between the difference between that and the states.
Sure. I mean, I think the biggest difference is obviously I won't even say the talent level because there's so many guys overseas that are just as talented or more talented than some of the guys here. Um, the learning the styles of play. My partner does a better job of it. Thomas does a better job of it than me of watching international film and like understanding different levels, whether that be Germany, whether it be Italy, whether it be Slovakia, Australia, wherever. And you're seeing so many guys come over in the draft process from Europe, from Australia, wherever. The levels are getting higher and higher around the world. I think just like, the biggest difference is I wake up I'm in the office every day, and especially in the summer by 5 a.m. every day because of the time differences. I'm in Arkansas, if it's, I've been in here on Saturday since 5, and, it's 7, 8 o'clock in a lot of places in Europe right now. So, it's at noon here. So at the end of the day, like you have to be able to really put in the effort and grind and understand. But like I said, I think for us the biggest thing was learning talent, like talent eval, and like what makes a really good player in Europe doesn't make a really good player in the NBA all the time, and vice versa. You see guys from the NBA or the G League go over to Europe and struggle. Some of them go from the G League and really thrive in Europe and go Euro League one day and make way more money than they would have made here in the States, probably, if they would have tried the G League over and over and over again. But I do think that that's probably, and just understanding the market and like having those connections worldwide is something that we've had to really do, whether it be through teams directly, partner agents, and just learning that side of it is really beneficial for us. I mean, I do enjoy the international side of things for sure. I mean, obviously we want to be more and more stateside, but I do. I mean, a big focus of our business is overseas, and met a lot of great people that way too.
OMS is looking to continue to expand, represent your talent pool. What are the next steps? Any projects coming down the pipeline? Anything new that we can expect from you guys?
No, I mean honestly, just trying to, like you said, just trying to expand. We are doing NIL space more now. So we're looking to, obviously it's a crazy space. I could get on an hour talk about that. It's very much a part of the game now. We've been fortunate enough to do a little bit of NIL this summer and spring and summer, and going to continue with that. And trying to even learn the talent eval on NIL recruiting. Right, it's totally different. We got NBA Summer League coming up. So, I mean, obviously the draft. Hopefully, we had our first two players in the NBA last year with Trey Jemison, and then we had Dexter Dennis, that both got 2 ways. And Trey wound up playing 25 games in the NBA. And so, trying to figure out, he's on 2-year 2 way as of now, like trying to figure out what's next for him. He's obviously a huge part of our business. Um, and trying to capitalize on the guys that we have going to Summer League, and trying to get them in as many guys as we can into summer league. The summer league is a necessary evil. It's 11 days in Vegas is a long time, but we make it work every year, and we enjoy it. We went from 0 guys in company history to 3 guys in 22, 6 guys last year. I imagine Lord willing, we'll have at least 6+ guys this year in summer league. Hopefully more than that, but at the end of the day, It's something that like is a big focal point for us. Is just and then just continuing to get better. Hopefully, finding the next guys, like whether we get a draft pick this year or not. Getting guys in the NBA, and we want to cultivate that reputation of being a company that finds diamonds in the rough and be able to bring them to the NBA. And then, eventually, we do want to get in that draft process more and more and more and be like solidified draft picks. And that comes with time. Like, we're not trying to rush anything. We've had to grind it out for 6 years, and my first deals were for peanuts overseas, and now you're talking about representing a guy like Jalen Williams. So I mean, like, it's definitely came a way. It's got a long way to go. Yeah, and just trying to just continue what we started.
I really respect your hustle. That's amazing.
I appreciate it. I wonder about myself some days, but I do appreciate it. It's a grind, but we love what we do. So the whole company does.
Definitely. All right. So maybe this might give people a little bit more insight. But as an agent, how do you prepare your athletes the best for NBA front offices? And what are some of the attributes that NBA front offices are looking for in your experience?
For sure. I mean, that's a great question. So we started the pre-draft process. 2022 is the first year that we did pre-draft, and we did we call it, I say pre-draft, like pre-draft training. And we actually did that for two guys that we had, Drake Jeffries, that was been in the G League the last 2 years, and Daquan Plowden, that's been in the G League. Both of them been in the G League the last 2 years. Both wound up getting Exhibit 10 contracts at summer and playing in summer league and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, that was a different summer. We were in Louisiana, and then last summer we moved it back to our hometown in Jonesboro, where our home base is, in Jonesboro, Arkansas. And last year we did 30 days, a little right at 30 days, and had guys here living. They live in Jonesboro. They work out twice a day. They're in the weight room. We got on the recovery, the housing, the meals, the meal prep, all that kind of stuff. This year we actually expanded to 6 weeks. So we've been here. It's June 15th today. They've been here since May 5th, and they are here till next Thursday, the 20th, right before the draft. And that's been a grind. It's when you hear about guys going to pre-draft training, you hear about Vegas, Chicago, New York, LA, and we bring these guys to Arkansas, right? And so it takes a different type of person to want to come here. And not that Jonesboro is bad. I love my home city, and there's enough here. It's an 80,000 person college town. It's not like people think Arkansas, they think I've got them on a farm or something, but it's actually a pretty nice, decent little city anyway. So, and but the end of the day, like, if that's what you're worried about as a fringe guy, if you're worried about in all seriousness, like where you're training at, you're probably going to have a really hard time. Like, it's probably not the guy for us anyway, right? Just because let's say you get an Exhibit 10 with Miami and they stick you in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or, you get picked up by New Orleans and you're in Birmingham, Alabama, right? And on a two-way. You're going to have, or take it a step further and you go to Europe and you're playing in Sweden. You're going to have a hard time figuring things out. So, like, for us, it's just all ball. They're in the gym right now working out, and they're in there twice a day. It's crazy. As of today, like I said, we're 9 or 11 days before the draft. I think we've had 31 workouts for 5 guys, and counting. And so that's a lot of trips back and forth to the airport. We've been blessed with some great interns and great help to, tote those guys back and forth to the airport. A lot of scheduling conflicts, a lot of, phone never stops ringing. So, but like as far as the players themselves, which is more important, is like they're just in the gym working. Like this group that we have, the five that I talked about earlier, and then we've had some of our other pros like Daquan Plowden and Trey Jemison and some of those guys come in and work out with those guys, just like their work ethic's been. Nobody's complained, nobody's rolled their eyes. Like this group has been really special. They're not the most talkative group in the world, but they really get after it. Everybody took it. Everybody here got better, and that's all we can ask. Like our player development and our strength guys, like that's all we can really ask. So I'm gonna myself and my staff is gonna work as hard as we possibly can. That's all I ask of them. So it's been a fun process. It's definitely we call it short days and long weeks because it's like the weeks just feel like they're taking forever to get through. Like the draft is 11 days away, and as you know, like in the draft, 11 days, the pre-draft is an eternity. Like a lot can happen in 11 days. You're hearing a lot of moving pieces, and this guy's stock's coming up, this guy's stock's plummeting. A lot can happen in one workout, and so that's what we're getting our guys ready for. And like we have a good idea of what most teams are doing in those workouts, so we're able to kind of like make sure they're prepared, pre-draft questions. We had 3 Portsmouth guys, so they kind of all went through that process as far as getting interviewed and stuff like that at Portsmouth. So yeah, we hope that we've done a good job to prepare them at least.
That sounds like a very chaotic time, but it's almost over.
Man,
I'm sure you
yeah,
guys are doing the best that you
for
guys
sure.
can do.
Well, and I'll just say this, like with the not just our guys, but like guys in general doing the pre-draft, like the general public doesn't understand like how much these guys go through going from workout to workout to workout. And like, like Jalen Williams is doing all these workouts and he has 3 back-to-back-to-back days next week in different time zones. That's a lot. That's a lot of travel. That's a lot of like recalibrating your mind. Like you got to have a short memory. If you have a great workout, great. You got another one coming up. If you got a bad workout, great. You have another one coming up. So it's like we just preach on like having a short memory and just be as good as the day that you have in front of you.
Most definitely. I think that's an amazing attribute to have and a great mindset. I think you guys are preparing them for everything. I mean, that's very amazing. Great to hear. Well, Drew, is there anything else that you can think of that you want to go over? It's been a pleasure.
No, man, it's been. I think you covered it. You did a great job of covering it all, and I appreciate you letting me come on and talk about these great guys. And just keep doing what you're doing. And I know you're just kind of getting it really rolling, and just keep chasing it, man. That's all you can do. It's everybody has to start somewhere, and Lord knows we had to start at the bottom of the bottom, and we're still scraping and clawing from the bottom. So just keep doing what you're doing, and I appreciate you giving us the time of day to be able to do this.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you, Drew.
All
Where
right.
can they find you? Where can they find you on social media if they want to reach out and know more about your prospects?
Sure. It's just at One Motive Sports. It's all spelled out ONE Motive Sports. So Twitter, Instagram, all of that, Facebook. Definitely give us a follow. We try to give these guys the best exposure they can via social media. So definitely give us a follow.
Perfect, Drew. Thank you for coming on. I truly
Thank,
appreciate it.
thanks, man. I appreciate you.